Welcome to Coaching with Confidence and Care podcast, inspired by common topics that arise in coach training, mentoring, and supervision. I am Dr. Luba Desamidze, the founder of Rethinking Coaching. I'm an active coach trainer, mentor, and supervisor. If you are listening, you are probably looking to deepen your skills as a coach. I hope this podcast will be a helpful resource for you and contributes to your journey. Hi, coaches! This podcast episode is going to be very personal, and I'm going to share my experience of how I reimagined my relationship with marketing as a coach and what helped me develop inspiration, consistency, and the attitude to marketing, which I see as positive and healthy. Although I address this topic regularly when I work with coaches as a coach trainer and a supervisor, just to be very straightforward, I'm not claiming to be a marketing expert. I don't offer any services around helping coaches with marketing. I'm not going to give any marketing tips or tricks in this episode. But I've been constantly learning and trying various marketing practices throughout my coaching career. So I thought I'd summarize some reflections that helped me develop a positive and productive attitude towards this part of work, which made my professional life easier, to be honest. Of course, I understand that those insights and learnings are my own. They can be highly personalized and arise from my own experience. They're not just the result of a couple of months' work, but all of the years I've been doing this work, the effort I put in, the experiments I've run, and both my wins and my failures. Nevertheless, I hope that these reflections can create some shortcuts for you too. It's no news that many coaches share some common challenges when it comes to marketing their services. I can name a few right off the top of my head. First of all, there could be a difficulty articulating the value of coaching, especially if you're a newer coach and haven't had many clients yet. There may be some limiting beliefs such as good work speaks for itself, I shouldn't have to market, or people who need coaching will somehow find me, or marketing is manipulative or pushy, or if I charge well, people will think I'm greedy, or I need another certification before I can confidently promote myself, or I have to look like an expert, and so on and so forth. Then there are some internal blockers, which could be fear of rejection or hearing no. For example, someone might think if people say no, that means I'm not worthy or I'm not good enough. It can be fear of being visible or judged by colleagues, friends, or family. Perfectionism, which leads to endless preparation and little action. There could be avoidance. For example, avoidance of sales conversations or some inconsistency in marketing efforts. There could be some unproductive attitudes and approaches. For example, getting discouraged quickly or expecting immediate results or looking for a perfect strategy or measuring success only by acquired clients or maybe spending most energy on creating content and not as much energy on having conversations. I don't see these patterns as individual flaws or evidence that coaches are bad at marketing. And I've had quite a few of those myself. I think many of those are a natural consequence of how marketing is often perceived by coaches, by a lot of coaches. If we believe that marketing requires us to become more self-promotional for our own benefit, more convincing, or more sales-oriented, it's understandable that we might procrastinate, over-prepare, or struggle to stay consistent. So I want to get you curious about a different perspective and invite you to see marketing your coaching through a relational lens. From this standpoint, marketing doesn't have to be a separate activity where you switch into salesperson mode. It's just another context in which you can practice the same qualities you bring into coaching. Curiosity, responsiveness, empathy, maybe humor, genuine interest in people, willingness to support them. Think about this. How do you want to show up and connect with a larger audience through your coaching presence and your coaching mindset? What would that look like in practice? Through marketing activities, you are contributing, you are building a relationship before any transactions. When I started to look at marketing as a way of relating to people that I want to coach, and it applies to everything really, content marketing, events, paid advertising, and even outreach. That helped me stay focused on clients and consistent with my marketing activities. For example, regular presence on the platforms of my choice so that people could get to know me and my way of thinking through my content or activities. Some of them could resonate with my approach, and it made it easier for them to decide whether I may be the right fit for them. So when people find me through my blog or short videos or even this podcast and decide to book a discovery call, they already have an experience of me in a way. And to me, this feels like showing care for my audience. And care matters deeply to me, as you can probably tell from the name of this podcast. So this perspective is energizing. Trust develops through a repeated experience of consistency, authenticity, and responsiveness. So you are building a relationship with your audience and you're showing up, which makes you a reliable figure, someone who can be trusted. And that's important. That was a helpful recalibration of my mindset because consistency has always been challenging for me. I'm quite an active, busy practitioner and wear several hats. And when life gets busy, I tend to scale back my marketing activities and focus on serving clients. Speaking of some practical activities and changes, here's what I found most helpful. First was committing to only 2 or 3 client profiles. Many people said it many times, and I'll say that too. When you talk to everyone, you talk to no one. No one can relate because they do not fully recognize themselves in what you're saying, and you have too many ideas for everyone, which doesn't always help with clarity of your message. Committing to a limited number of client profiles was a big step for me, as I have diverse interests and I genuinely enjoy coaching around a range of topics. But see, I'm talking about myself now. When I looked at this from a client-centered perspective, I asked myself, who are the people who can benefit the most from working with me right now? Who's going to get the most out of what I'm bringing to the table? At this stage of my career, given my experience, given the training that I've done, given the learnings that I acquired in various ways, given the growth that I had, given the skills that I've developed, who are the people that can benefit most from my skills and my inner capacity as a practitioner? I always speak about using self as tool, and understanding what kind of tool you are helps greatly in finding the most rewarding application of your full capacity, both for yourself and for your clients. Say, if I actively and intentionally work on developing my inner capacity for holding uncertainty, not knowing, complexity, working with strong emotions, navigating change, the space I create can become a resource for people who are dealing with complexity, uncertainty, difficult decision-making, emotional awareness or regulation, change, unpredictability, and so on. Of course, many people can benefit from that, but not everybody needs that kind of space. This is an important idea. Just because you can do many different things, it doesn't mean that you should do them all. Some people are looking for structure, certainty, clear answers, strong accountability, and they may thrive with another practitioner. The more clarity I gained about the kind of resource I can be for others, the easier it became to articulate my value and to create content that speaks to the realities, struggles, and aspirations of the people that I want to work with. I found it helpful to stop asking, who can I serve? Because there could be a lot of different profiles. And instead ask, who's most likely to experience the greatest value from what I bring as a coach? That shift made it so much easier to focus my marketing and speak more specifically to the people who are likely to resonate with the quality of space and inquiry I can co-create with them. Second, another thing that made a difference was to get super specific in my examples and include tiny, teeny details when I describe some stories and situations that my audience could potentially relate to. This again helped me develop a much stronger connection with my audience, and it allowed them to feel seen, heard, understood, accepted, and supported. I'd always been a bit skeptical about all those steps, like writing out what makes you unique, writing about what makes working with you unique, creating your client avatar, listing all the situations and scenarios that your clients are facing in detail, and addressing a specific person when you tell your stories. Before, it sounded time-consuming, and I saw it as something artificial, I guess, something that will primarily stay on paper. But at the end of the day, it was totally worth it, because even during this writing process, I connected so much with the people I want to serve. Let me give you some examples of those teeny details. So instead of saying some of my clients started coaching with me because they wanted to increase their team's engagement, I started saying some of my clients love to stop asking their team any thoughts 3 times in a row and hearing nothing. They would love to see people jump in without waiting to be called on, challenge each other's ideas respectfully, and have someone other than the same 2 people speak during their Monday meeting. That's how our coaching started. It is so much easier to relate to the second example, isn't it? Or instead of asking, do you want to delegate more? I could write something like, would you like to go on vacation without checking Teams from the hotel room and come back to find that your team solved the client issue without waiting for you to tell them exactly what to do? See the difference? The thing is that people do not relate to general descriptions. They do not. It all sounds useful, but they do not see how it's about them or which of their goals or challenges you could support with. Here's another example. Instead of saying, one of the changes my client saw from coaching was that her managers started to communicate better. You could say something like, one of the changes my client saw from coaching was that she stopped hearing, I thought someone else was doing that, or nobody told me 2 days before the deadline. Her managers started to leave a meeting with the same understanding of who owns what, instead of copying her on long email chains to avoid responsibility. You know, that is sometimes difficult for people to articulate immediately what they want to take away from coaching or from a coaching session. They do not know what's possible, and by providing such examples, you also help them see what's possible for others, and it helps people make a more informed decision about what they might want for themselves. The more I reflected in depth on clients' challenges, the more I've described the situations that my clients found themselves in, the more compassionate and the more empathetic I felt towards them in my content or even event promotions. That helped me connect with the audience emotionally at the heart-to-heart level, and we didn't have to do a one-on-one conversation for that. It all started through my content. And that idea motivated me to write more, to speak more, to show up more for my target audience, speak in their language, just to show them that I do understand them. And thoughtful marketing became a way to witness, name, and normalize people's experience. Why is that important? Because many people feel alone in their struggles, and your content, workshop, cast dev interviews, or other activities help people see that someone understands what they're going through. They're not the only one dealing with this. They're not inadequate. You'd be surprised how many people think, what's wrong with me? They think, okay, I've been a leader for some time. I should know this, or I should be able to handle this better. Why am I facing this difficulty? This shouldn't be an issue for me. People sometimes carry so much shame, guilt, or other difficult feelings, along with expectations, perfectionism, and a sense of inadequacy. And my experience was that the more I shared situations that my potential clients might find themselves in, the more it helped acknowledge those experiences, which became an important step towards others becoming more open-minded and considering possible solutions. The third insight came from the experience of working with one of my marketing mentors, and that was all about the gift of sharing, in a way. When we started working together, she gave me access to a large database of knowledge. And anytime I had a question about something related to marketing, best practices, various types of content, various strategies, tips and tricks, I could first check in the database. And it was a great client experience for me to get all my questions answered quickly, almost immediately. But the most striking thing was that there was an answer to each and every question. And not just a short note, not just a blog post, but usually a video reply, a podcast episode, a webinar she previously recorded, a checklist. So high quality and high value content. My mentor shared her experience generously and the database accumulated over time. And I thought, wow, she has so much to say. She's done so much. And there's no reason why she shouldn't be sharing with others and promoting her services actively. Why would you hold back when you have so much to offer? If you have something to give, why be greedy? Why keep it all to yourself? At the end of the day, it's all for helping the people who might benefit from working with you. Last but not least, being out there and being visible for your clients shows your initiative in building a relationship and giving your clients an opportunity to meet you as a person, not only as a professional. So you do not hide behind your diplomas and credentials. And this might speak to those coaches who think, oh, there are so many coaches out there already. I'm not experienced enough. I'm not special. I'm not saying anything unique. Well, yes and no. Your uniqueness is not in the information or the content that you share. The information is available to everyone, but what's special and unique is your interpretation and the philosophy that you bring to your work. This is what matters most to people. I guess most of the people who hired me as their coach or enrolled in a coach training with me, they made this choice because they resonated with something that I was sharing. They resonated with my interpretation, vision, or my philosophy, and they wouldn't have been able to know me so well if I hadn't become visible. Now, some coaches do have this edge to work through, which is about allowing themselves to be known and to be seen. My observation is that for many coaches, the challenge is not becoming more visible, but developing the capacity to tolerate visibility. Because visibility means that people will form opinions. Some people will resonate with your perspective, some won't. Some people might say nice things, others won't. Some will appreciate your style, some will prefer another practitioner. And if we attach our worth to everybody liking us or agreeing with us, visibility can feel uncomfortable or scary. In that sense, marketing can become an interesting developmental practice. It invites us to tolerate being misunderstood, not being everybody's cup of tea, and not being the right fit for everyone. What I find curious here is that many coaches are perfectly comfortable helping clients navigate uncertainty, vulnerability, and difficult emotions. But when it comes to marketing, we often expect certainty for ourselves. We want guarantees that people will like our content, agree with our perspective, and respond positively. But visibility does not come with those guarantees. It requires the same inner capacities that we often cultivate in our clients. The ability to stay grounded in uncertainty, to tolerate discomfort, and to keep showing up without controlling the outcome. And I think that makes marketing not just a business activity, but an interesting learning and growth opportunity for us as practitioners. That's all I have to say so far. I'd love to invite you to view marketing not just as a business activity, but as a way to initiate and nurture relationships with the people who can get most out of what you can bring to the table. This way, it becomes rewarding for everyone, and it becomes more of a natural extension of your presence as a coach. Before we wrap up, a quick heads up about the next episode. I'll be talking about the ICF credentialing exam, including how to prepare for it, what to focus on, and how to approach it with more confidence and less stress. If the exam is on your horizon, I hope this conversation will help you feel most prepared and set you up for success. You can expect a new episode from us every other week, with the in-between weeks featuring our YouTube series, Conversations with Coaches. Those conversations give you a chance to hear how coaches from different specialties think about their work and what goes on behind the scenes of their practice. If your interest lies in developing a more relational, culturally and emotionally informed approach to coaching and moving beyond simply mastering techniques, the next round of our ICF accredited training programs starts in the fall of 2026. More information is available at upthinkcoaching.com. I always enjoy connecting with fellow practitioners and having meaningful exchanges on LinkedIn. So please don't hesitate to get in touch. And if you're looking for an opportunity to reflect more deeply on your work, I offer individual mentor coaching and supervision as a space for that kind of exploration. Take care, and I'll catch up with you in the next episode.